Here.
Mark Saturn.
Here.
Rick Flynn.
Here.
Mike Burns.
Here.
James Oates.
Here.
Bob McAfee. LaDonna Allen.
Here.
Roger Smith.
Here.
Will you all please stand and join me in our pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you pray? Gracious God, we come to you again this evening in your presence for tonight's session of the Carl Junction Board of Aldermen. We give you all glory and honor and acknowledge you as our creator and provider of all things. You know all things, and we humbly ask for your wisdom, God. As we begin this meeting, we ask that you would guide our thoughts and our actions so that we may guide and direct the community you have entrusted to us. Please make all our decisions according to your will and your character. It's in your mighty name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Rick. Before we go any further, I want to comment about some things that have happened in the last 2 weeks. We've had a P&Z commissioner, Ethan Gertz, who's passed away in the last 2 weeks. Also, Wayne Smith, who was on the Board of Aldermen, who did a lot for me when I first got on here and taught me a lot of stuff on it. His wife, Ramona, she passed away in the last 2 weeks. And additionally, we had 2 Joplin police officers shot and killed. Another one's at the hospital. One up, Benjamin Cooper. He was a 1993 graduate of Carl Junction High School. That's pretty close to home. So I'd like everybody to take a moment of silence. And if you are so inclined to pray and help these people, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Next is approval of the agenda. Are there any comments or corrections to the agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Second.
Much more Roger Spencer, second by Don Allen, to approve the agenda is presented. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Seven in the affirmative, when absent, the agenda is approved. Next is approval of the consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting and approval of our disbursements. Are there any comments, corrections to the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Roger Spencer, to approve the consent agenda is presented. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Seven in the affirmative, when absent, the consent agenda is approved. Next is public forum. Anyone wishing to speak at public forum? No one? Last call for public forum then. We'll be moving right along then. Thank you. Next is the quarterly chamber report.
So I sent this over, so you guys all should have received this sort of a general little update. First things first, there's actually a typo. The statewide sales are never on Thursday, they're on Saturday, April 30th, so make that correction. But that is coming up. We've been getting a lot of calls even about a month out, so residents will be available to log what they always do on our website, their sales, starting April 1st. Sort of generally what's coming up is obviously we're very excited about our community and education awards banquet that always happens in April. And so we are excited, obviously, again, to team up with the school and be able to honor our teachers. And there'll be actually a very special little ceremony happening with the school district that night. And then obviously our awesome community and our area businesses that will be awarding 7 different awards this year. So that will happen on the 21st. We have our golf scramble coming up in May. We're changing things a little bit around. We're actually going to be in the morning to help Nate out after I go to golf course a little bit. So, and then in general, we're really just looking forward to spring and warmer weather. And with that comes all of our awesome in the city limits Carl Junction events like Second Tuesday on Main Street, obviously the Bluegrass Festival, the Trunk or Treat will be back in the fall. So we're looking forward to those things. And I know everyone is really looking forward, obviously, to the Bluegrass Festival. And we've already been getting, we're like a little over halfway full already with vendors, which I did expect to happen with it being the 25th anniversary. So that's exciting to see some new bands coming out. maybe that haven't been with us in a while, that are gonna be celebrating. So we're really looking forward to, again, warmer weather, and then just chamber in general, we've been growing. We've had 28 new members, since the start of 2022. And obviously our networking stuff and our lunch and learns. So that is all very exciting to see our little chamber grow and flourish. And then one thing I do want to note on here, which is different, is unfortunately there will not be a shred and e-recycling event this year. Region and Waste Management is able to do that event for us free of charge for our residents because of grant money that Patty receives. And unfortunately, she did not receive the entirety of the grant money. So there will be one that's open to all of Jasper County and Duquesne in June, and I'll find out more information, but this year, unfortunately, we won't have one. We usually have it spring and summer, and it's just not gonna happen. I'm hoping maybe in the fall it might change, and she's supposed to keep me posted, but that's, I know, one big thing that our residents look forward to.
I had a quick question.
Yes.
Couple things that I've heard that we're not gonna do this year, but I wanted to confirm with you since we're here. I've heard that there's not gonna be a car show with the Bluegrass Festival.
There is not this year.
Is there, would nobody help or?
So actually the biggest reason is space. So if you were able to come out last year, we had the biggest car and bike show we've ever had. So the space that we actually put them in was able to accommodate 75 plus cars and about almost 50 motorcycles. And unfortunately, we are not going to have that space. We've had to make some changes to our VIP parking. There's a possibility that we will not be able to park where we typically do, which means we don't have parking, we don't have a festival. So we're having to move some things around. And so that is the big reason why, is just logistics. Unfortunately, it's just not going to be able to happen in other areas that we would be able to do a car and bike show. Unfortunately, does not have a big enough space to accommodate the amount of cars and bikes that we have. Because ultimately, there's no pre-registration, and there never has been for almost 25 years. So we don't know date of how many to expect. We're just going off of years past.
Well, and I wonder, because I know it is one of the bigger draws of the festival, and it does bring a lot of people to Carl Junction, just the car show.
I know it does. Yeah, so I know, and it's gonna be, I think it is gonna be a little bit difficult, because you're right, it does bring people from all over just for that. But we also have had some more updates with like our kids area and different vendors that are gonna come out that appeal to families, which was huge last year. And then we also have an influx in just vendors in general, with specifically food and craft and boutiques and that sort of thing. So I think bringing in, especially the kids area, with maybe some new games, new attractions, will hopefully still bring families out. But I'm hoping also with the bands that we've picked and everything, I know it's going to be a great festival. I know it will take a little bit of a hit, but unfortunately, it's sort of in our hands.
What about, are we not doing Business Expo?
We are not doing a business expo.
Anything else for Kevin? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Wait.
Oh,
I'm sorry. You keep saying our small little chamber.
yeah.
How many?
We are a little over 300 now.
You guys lose that small.
Yeah. I mean, it still feels like it to me.
I know. But
It's not, but it is.
that's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Next is ordinances. First is an ordinance amending chapter 505 licenses.
I
Make a
move we
motion
put
to put this on first reading by title only.
Second.
Motion by Roger Spencer, second by Lon Allen, put this ordinance on first reading by title only. Will the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance amending Title 5, Building Code, Chapter 505, licenses by amending Section 505.010, license required, subparagraph C, to clarify when a homeowner may do construction work on his home without a contractor's license.
Steve can explain this, and then we'll talk to the committee chairman who reviewed it today.
Yes, this is a little bit of a different one than what we're normally dealing with, I think. But this is aimed at some safety issues with people that are buying and flipping or buying and renting, type property that have tried to do work owned without having proper liability insurance, and in some cases, workman's comp. So this tightens down our ordinance a little bit so that they don't have that perceived exception built into our code. Our code was a little bit ambiguous about that, that kind of allowed it. We've never interpreted it that way, but we've had our hand forced a couple of times on it. We've always held strong on it, but so what it does is, if you're a homeowner working on your own home, there's no changes. You can do your own work, whatever you want to, if you're the homeowner. This is just geared toward investment, property, or house flippers. A lot of them are doing work without a general contractor, so they don't have insurance, proper liability insurance. They don't have workman's comp. They still go through the process of getting a building permit and inspections being made, but a lot of times those don't pass, and it's expensive to fail an inspection. General contractors, they're used to working with us. They know what's expected. They know how to do things, and they're more familiar with the code. So this, we've tried to tighten it down a little bit. That's the two sections in there that are in bold and underlined, or what we're adding to it for that.
Rick?
The Code Nuisance Review Committee met on this, and we recommend that we pass this.
Any other questions?
Yeah. So if I as an individual want to go out and buy a piece of property and flip this property, I have to have general liability insurance and I have to have workers' comp.
To do work on it.
Yes.
Well, if I'm flipping it,
Yes.
and I'm a person, I mean, I'm an individual, I'm not a company. I have to have all of this.
For the workman's comp side, the way the state law reads, one or more employees. So if you're paying somebody to help you do some of that work, you're going to have workman's comp. General liability protects you if something happens at that property while you're doing that construction. You've got liability insurance to help cover you if somebody sues you because of what happened on that property.
Do I not have, as a contractor, do I not already buy insurance to protect that property?
If you're a contractor, yes.
Well, if I'm an individual and I buy this piece of property, I'm going to go have it insured. It may not cover my dwelling, my contents, but it will cover my property, my liability of this, and through my homeowner's insurance. Even though it's not homeowners, it's a contractor's builder's insurance policy, and you can get $100,000, or I don't know how much more you can get, maybe up to $1 million. I'm just thinking here out loud. It's going to force these people who are maybe me. I don't do this, but if I ever did do this, it's going to keep me from doing it, because it's going to cost me, all my profits going to be going to for liability insurance and for all these other things there's no sense in me flipping a house, upgrading a house.
We have people, and the vast majority of people that we have, not really an answer for you, but a point. The vast majority of people that we have that do this type of thing, they hire a general contractor to do all of this for them. They don't do the work themselves. They don't want that headache of contracting with a bunch of individual people. that type of thing.
Most of the people that I know that do it themselves.
And a lot of those,
Now, if I'm doing it, if I'm a corporation coming in or a company coming in and doing it, that's a different situation. But if I'm an individual coming in and buying a piece of property and I want to flip that piece of property, it's going to drive me right out. It's going to eat up any profit I may have.
you're talking for us, $100 for license. If $100 drives you out of business,
No, but you're talking
And
about
liability.
all your liability insurance and workers'
general
comp
liability insurance is not that expensive either. For a contractor, it is minimal cost for $1 million worth. $300 to $500. That's what I see.
Don?
Quick question, and I'm just asking, as far as implementation of this, how do we prove somebody's gonna flip a house when they come in and get a building permit? If I bought a house, I'm seriously asking, if I bought a house and I'm doing some work and I'm thinking I may let my kid live there, I may sell to my whatever, but then I decide, you know what, this is turning out better, I can make a profit on this, and I put it on the market a year later, but how do we prove, like, somebody could come in and go, no, I don't plan on flipping this house and making a profit. I mean, and it's a serious question, like, how do we determine, and like, say you've got the liability, but if you're doing all the work yourself, then the work comp and liability didn't, come into play, because like, say you got liability on the thing, and what are you gonna do, sue yourself if you get hurt? But that was my question, like, how do we determine who's going to flip and who's not? If they say no, do we say, well, we know you are?
Well, there's two ways that it happens. On the building permit application, it has address of the owner and then the address of the property.
Yeah.
And those are different. Is this primary residence? We ask.
Yeah.
Now,
But
whether they lie to us or not, we don't have any control over that.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. What if you buy a house in Carl Junction, you live in Joplin, your primary residence is Joplin, but you're gonna fix a house up and it's gonna take 6 months to move into it. So they're never gonna, I just don't know how we're gonna get into it, or if we're gonna have somebody come in later and said, well, you charged me this and you didn't charge that person, and.
Yeah, and if it's a case where they get water, they'll either have a landlord agreement.
So we go back and retroactively charge them, or?
No.
That's what I'm just saying. I think that all the cogs and everything.
So you'd rather let everybody just do it on their own rather than stop just a few that lie to you?
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying.
That's my whole point.
For Greg's issue on building inspector issue, it's a life safety issue.
But-
Have somebody in there doing work that isn't, especially an electrician or a plumber.
But doesn't he inspect it though?
Sometimes those people don't even come in and get a permit. He catches them later on. We've went in and we've told people to tear out sheetrock so that we can see the wiring. And because we did that, we caught things that weren't done right.
Well, I'm not saying people
So-
don't have to have building
And
permits,
those were
but
people that were doing it on their own. They weren't using, so it's an issue on the life, the life safety part of it.
well, and that's what I'm saying. And I'm not trying. Not trying to be devil's advocate, but if you have to get a building permit to do over so many dollars worth of improvements anyhow, and you've got that building permit, you've got those inspections. Like you say, it's not that big a deal to get the extra business license, but I don't know. I guess we miss the people that lie to us, but
There are people that do, I'm not that naive to think they don't. We have fences that go up on the weekends. We have sheds that go in on the weekends, that we don't get, and there is a percentage that we're not going to catch.
and those are probably the same people who won't get a building permit anyhow. So you're not gonna. That's the thing. The people who are going to try to get, a lot of the people are probably doing it without a building permit. So I don't know that you're going to catch them anyhow. But I mean, if it's what you guys need, if you're seeing that and Greg's seeing that, but you're doing the inspections anyhow, if they're actually coming in to get the building permit. But codes is recommending it, so they must know more about the need for it.
Well, you know, I mean, if it.
I mean, those are my, I'm afraid it's gonna get
It's
into.
kind of like one thing, if you do it and you save something for one person, it may be worth it. Like workman's comp or something like that, if you just help one person out by doing that, instead of having him hire somebody and then doing this, and somebody gets injured and the guy sues him and everything else, and he loses everything. But if you got workman's compensation, well, that's gonna be covered. So if you help one person out, it may be worth it. Anything else?
I'm a little conflicted. And I hate to discourage our investors and our flippers, but I want everything we do to be safe. I'm just really torn on this one. So
And
I just want to put that out.
I agree with you. If I'm a person that's doing flipping and I do hire, let's say I'm to the point now where I want to add siding and I call Home Pro. Hey, I need you to come out and do the siding. You're going to carry yourself a certain amount of insurance. Workers' comp, you're going to carry liability insurance and those things of that nature. And, you know,
But it's-
I guess maybe in today's society, people can turn around, they have that stuff, but they can still sue you. I don't know.
Well, in this case, this also covers the city in case something goes wrong,
It sure does.
which is the most important part of what I can see.
It sure does.
For the
Because,
amount that this license.
because we could, it's always possible, we've been named on suits before, we've been lucky enough to get out of them, but, you know, when they start suing people on that stuff, they could name the city on that because we didn't issue a permit, even though they didn't, you know, or we issued a permit and they didn't have any, you know, there is some liability, I'm pretty confident that we could get out of it, but there is always that possibility. Because, you know, when you sue the doctor, you sue the hospital, you sue the, you know, the nurses that happen to be on staff at that time, you know, on that ward, whatever, you know, you hit everybody, and we could absolutely be named on that stuff. And that, you know, as far as being expensive, it's not, but it's still time consuming, and it does come off of our insurance. I can see Gary's also, in fact,
No.
our ultimate is that we want to protect the people that are living in that house.
Yeah.
We're not after protecting the house flipper. It's the resident that's living in that house. That's what I see our responsibility is. Those guys are our citizens. Those guys are our residents. We have to take care of that. And if there's some way that we can take care of them, then yes.
That's where I'm thinking the building inspection comes in.
I'm conflicted, but I'm going to err on the side of safety. Safety for our city. But I don't want to discourage. We have some very competent people that are willing to invest, flip, or whatever to bring more people to town. I hate to discourage that.
I just think the same thing as far as if we can keep people safe, we need to do that. And if that's the business I'm in of coming in and flipping houses, then I'm going to have the insurance I need to protect me.
Your reputation.
So, or I'll probably never flip another house again. So,
Most people think that way, but there are some that don't. And those two groups need to be held to the same standard.
Any further discussion, or should we go on to second reading?
I would move that we put it on second reading.
second.
Motion by Gary Stubblefield, second by Rick Flynn, put this ordinance on second reading. Will the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance amending Title V, Building Code, Chapter 505, licenses by amending Section 505.010, license required, subparagraph C, to clarify when a homeowner may do construction work on his home without a contractor's license.
Any further discussion?
Maybe we put this ordinance on final passage.
Second.
Motion by Donna Allen, second by Roger Spencer, put this ordinance on final passage. This is a hand vote to go to electronic voting. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 7 in the affirmative, please vote electronically. We have 6 yeas and 1 no. The ordinance passes.
That's number 22 dash.
Thank you. Next is an ordinance approving a contract with the Joplin Family Y for pool management.
Maybe we put this ordinance on first reading by title only.
Second.
Motion by Donna Allen, second by Rick Flynn, to put this ordinance on first reading by title only. Will the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance approving a pool management contract between the city of Carl Junction, Missouri and the Joplin Family Y Incorporated to maintain and operate the Carl Junction pool, providing the terms and conditions thereof, and authorizing the mayor to execute said contract for and on behalf of the city of Carl Junction, Missouri.
Discussion? LaDonna?
Okay, last year we paid $17,000. This is a 76.5% increase. And it's my understanding when we did the budget, we had not heard anything from the Joplin Family Y on what they might charge. So we penciled in 18 to give them an increase because we understand everything is going up. Now, it's my understanding from just quick conversation tonight that they came in with some discussion and are saying it's because of a huge increase in the price of chlorine. And we're just now getting hit with this. And I want to know where the backup is to support a 76.5% increase from 1 year to the other. Because this is not something we had accounted for. They already get all the gate, they get all of the passes, they get all of the concession, lessons, anything else. And if we do go from 17 to 30,000, what are we cutting out of the budget? Is my problem.
Anybody else like to comment? Rick?
I would agree with that, but what choice, I mean, can we send it back to them and just say, hey, we're not gonna do it, we need to
Yeah.
rethink this one?
Yeah.
We can table the ordinance, we can table
And
this
see,
ordinance
that's my
right
thing,
now.
I have nothing in front of me showing any justification for 76.5%. I mean, cost of everything's going up, we know that. But I would think if I came into somebody and said, oh, hey, by the way, you've used us every year and here's our new one. Wow,
Yeah, Mark.
Almost sounds to me like they don't want to do it.
that's kind of what I got. I mean, I know things are going, we all know things are going up. And just random things like picnic tables and, you know.
I think if the city puts out a bid, the city puts out a bid for some road work, if somebody comes in at, 40,000 when the lowest bid and the next lowest bid is, 10 and 15,000, that's telling me that 40,000 guy doesn't really want to do the business.
And I know we're in a bind because I know if we staffed it like we used to with the lifeguards and the everything else, we have an expense and we have all of this. But we also get the gate and we get everything else. I mean,
Did we put some added things in there, responsibilities, some added?
no. And is there even anything in the contract now that requires that? Because we had talked about requiring them to offer lessons or so, because we talked about that here a couple of years ago.
That's,
And I was thumbing through the contract, but I didn't see. At one point we had talked about maybe adding that they would offer swim lessons, that kind of, they get the money for it, but offer it to the citizens.
yeah, I thought I saw something in there about that.
I was trying to thumb through, but there was so many. But then again, I was kind of dizzy after seeing the new number.
Yes,
They
sir.
talked about-
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
That's right.
Pardon me.
I don't know if there's any other companies that can do what the Y does that offer the pool management, but
No,
can we take it out to bid?
There's nobody around here does that.
we have to do it ourselves like we used to.
We would have to bring it
But
in-house.
my suggestion would be that we table this. And we have Steve, and you can be with him, LaDonna, and go out and tell the family why, to give us a breakdown of why they've
Yeah.
increased their price so much.
Well, that
To see if we
was,
see it's reasonable or not.
right. I mean, because that was my thing. You can come in and say, the price of XYZ has went up so many %, but if you don't have anything that they can present to us when we're considering it,
And if we don't, we can't come to an agreement, we don't have to open the pool.
I mean,
People from outside could always go to the Briarbrook CID, pay like twice as much money to have a season pass at Briarbrook if they want.
and that's the thing. I want to be able to offer the pool, but we can't just print money. I mean, unfortunately, at our level of government, we can't print money.
Well,
So,
we can, but I think it's illegal.
well, it goes back to that whole business license.
Where's Jesse James when you need it?
We do it on,
I mean, and if so, then we got to figure out where we're gonna.
how long have they been doing this? This has been several years now, right?
Oh, my gosh, it's
Oh,
probably been 15 years.
Yeah.
Because it went from like
hadn't been that long.
it went from like 13 to 14 to
15, I've been on
Probably.
council that long?
year and all.
God.
I mean, it's
It
because that's what I was
was,
tracking through what we've paid the last 6 or 7 years, even, and it's gradual, 1,000 here, 1,000 there.
Joe Barfield actually got it put in place because that was when it fired the pool manager for some activities that were going on. And he sent me to certified pool operator course.
Do you still have your certification?
I do not. And about the only good that does is figuring out how to do the chemicals and how to operate pumps and that type of thing. Pool management's a whole different thing.
And I want to find a way to do it. Don't get me wrong.
So
I
we
want
go
to
back
find
to
a way
them
to do
and
it.
we
for
ask
kids.
them, I mean,
Yeah.
our conversation's pretty much centered around the huge increase in the price of chlorine tablets.
Yeah.
And the fact that they want us to go to liquid chlorine.
What would it cost?
Wanting and needing are two
Then you
different
gotta have a
things.
big tank and that's.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
that's
some,
dangerous.
they use liquid chlorine for, I do remember this from the training. Liquid chlorine works really good on an indoor pool. It does not work real good on an outdoor pool because of evaporation.
And right now we have liquid or we have tablet.
We have tablets.
So tablet works best anyhow.
Tablets and gas work the best on
And there
open.
you go.
But tablets are more expensive, that's
More
And
expensive.
gas
But
More
is a little
expensive
bit
than
harder
this.
to,
more expensive than, you gotta have a big tank, you gotta, I mean, that's.
Yeah, that's what I
You
mean.
don't want chlorine to escape, you know?
Well,
Last time it escaped was in the trenches in World War I, a whole bunch of people died.
Right. So that's what I mean, though. We have to put the tanks and everything else in.
yes, yeah, there would be
So
some
maybe-
capital expense
Yeah.
putting it in place.
I'd like to talk to him. I'd like to.
How about the
I'd like to
possibility of
table
going to a saltwater pool?
There again,
It's
you got the
healthier.
capital costs to change it over, but
But at
It
least,
didn't cost Bradford that much to change over.
no,
And you wouldn't have those recurring.
but at least you
You
have
still have to buy
justification, at least then you at least have justification as to why you're doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right
Because
now,
right now it's
they've
like,
done it for 15 years. And why now, all of a sudden, we have this huge jump, this huge increase?
yeah, I mean, I can see even a 2025. We all know how everything's going up.
personnel costs have increased in some, but
Some.
not a lot.
Not a lot.
Because they're minimum wage jobs.
I hope like
and
none of our
minimum wage
employees here, you're getting a
is go up.
76% increase.
That's
'cause-
very minor.
Yeah.
And we get, you know, it's absolutely the best thing to do is to table this.
Yeah.
We get a hold of them, said, we can't do that amount. We want to see justification for that.
Because if we do that amount, something else has got to go.
And then can we figure?
And it
cost
won't
on
be
switching
it won't
to
be a
salt?
service.
Do what?
Can we figure cost on switching to salt too?
Yeah, I would have to get a hold of our pool supply guy
Yeah,
and ask him and see if he even recommends it.
because, they're not gonna open the pool till May, so.
Yeah.
Right.
I motion we table it
Second.
and table it until you get some information and we can either get him to come meet us or you and I go talk to him or you and the
Mark,
mayor and I.
No, I was ready to vote.
Oh.
Sorry, I was amending my motion.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor by Donna Allen, second by Roger Spencer, that we table this until we get some further information from the Joplin family Y as to why the costs have gone up. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 7 in the affirmative with 1 absent. The ordinance has been tabled.
Sorry. A little difficult tonight,
That's
aren't I?
good. No, you're not. I agree with you. Okay, well, maybe we can pass the next ordinance. Who knows?
Would you like me to step out for a minute?
That would be a good idea. Next is an ordinance approving a contract with Allied Waste for waste collection and removal.
I move we put this ordinance on first reading by title only.
Second.
Motion by LaDonna Allen, second by Gary Stubblefield, put this ordinance on first reading by title only. Will the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance approving an agreement between the city of Carl Junction, Missouri and Allied Services LLC for public services of Galena to collect waste materials for residential, commercial, municipal, and industrial units in the city of Carl Junction, Missouri from April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2027 in accordance with the contract documents at rates specified therein and authorizing the mayor to execute said agreement for and on behalf of the city of Carl Junction, Missouri.
Discussion.
I have nothing negative to say.
Well, I don't know. Did they put did they lower the commercial rate?
The 5%.
From the current commercial rate?
No, from like, they were talking about giving a franchise fee. And I suggested they lowered the commercial rate.
I forgot to look at that.
We need to check that out, because they kind of indicated that they were, with a nod, that they were gonna do that in the last meeting. And I think that's important to us. Mike?
I'm sorry, I missed the last meeting when the bids were discussed, but I'm sure this is not in the contract because I don't believe it was before. But when they miss a week during their service, there's no incentive for them to try to pick up the trash. On my route, we missed twice in the last month, and they said we'll pick you up next week. And so, I mean, that's great for them. They just get the same bill that they don't pick up my trash for a week. You know, I would like to see
Are they still picking up your trash?
the next week. They said we'll come back in the next week, so not the next day. The roads were pretty good. They could have easily picked up trash, but there's no incentive to. The roads are kind of bad. We'll pick it up next week. Anyway, so I'm saying it'd be nice to build into the contract if trash is not picked up with 48 hours after the originally scheduled date, then you're not getting paid for that service. I don't know how that works, but I just wish there was an incentive for them to come by and pick up the trash the next day, which they've done before, but twice in the last month, we've missed out on a whole week's worth of trash service, and they come back the next week. And like I said, there's needs to be some sort of incentive to actually pick up the trash. And I understand that when it's icy, they're not going to be able to always, but
This isn't a bad neighborhood.
I
I
guess
haven't
so.
had that problem.
We missed two.
We missed it.
They missed 2 weeks out of my place.
They didn't make this week up.
I don't.
They
Did
missed,
you have any
they,
miss at yours?
they missed two in ours.
Depends on what day you were.
One day.
Yeah.
One day,
Mayor,
yeah.
they
He
clean
said
your
one
street.
day. They came the next day, and then they went back
Yeah,
on
well,
Saturday.
see, we're Thursday, so if they miss Thursday, they can't, and Friday, I mean,
They
I'm
pick up
like, we
Friday.
did.
Okay.
And yes, it eventually gets picked up, but then you got like 2 weeks worth of stuff.
We made a lot of
here.
trash in our
Yeah.
neighborhood. I mean, extra trash, and there was bags out there, and the neighborhood was trashy. It was
What they've always done with that is when you do miss multiple days like that, is they don't care if you put it out beside it, whatever. They will pick it up.
Absolutely, they did a great job with that. But like I said, there was a lot of just loose debris blowing around our neighborhood because trash was overfilled. And anyway, I just wish there was an incentive, for them. If they don't pick us up on Thursday, there's no reason to. Well, we'll just skip till next Thursday, getting the same money, not providing the same service. But I would like to
So
see.
then we're gonna credit everybody in the city that
Yeah.
misses it.
That creates a huge issue on.
I think that the provider would find a way to manage to pick that up.
Problem is
I
that
don't
we explained it to us, if they miss 2 days, they have no way of making that up without working 7 days a week, without paying overtime for Sunday. If they miss 1 day, they always make it up. If they miss 2 days, they don't have enough days in the week to make that up. So either they're running more than 12-hour shifts a day, or they're working on Sunday, or they're gonna be behind the following.
I understand. I don't have a solution other than I feel like I don't need to be billed for a service that was not provided either.
But I go back to that, they picked up your trash,
The next week, yes. So we missed
but
it.
they still picked
So I
up
was
your
billed
trash.
for that week that no trash was picked up. I was billed for 52 weeks and I got 50 weeks of trash service.
Well, it's unfortunately you weren't here last week.
Yeah,
Do you have their last deal? Their
Contract?
their bid for commercial?
I could get it.
I mean, I've got what their contract is now. I wanted to see if they reduce the,
No, I'd have to get it.
because I think that's important.
I'd have to pull their bid up and see what it said.
Well, I mean, I could probably do it here, pull it up again, because it was in the last
Yes,
packet, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
and we asked them that after the bids was open, so it would be the bids, it would be as the bids were.
The bad thing is, doesn't it expire? When's our contract expire? March,
April.
April 1st.
April 1st? So we won't meet again.
Well, it's something to think about for 2028 then.
Yeah. But as far as the commercial, I mean, we gotta approve it tonight or we won't have a trash
You better still be on the
contract.
council then, because I won't be.
If we don't approve the contract tonight as of April 1st, we don't have trash service.
That is true.
So if they didn't do the commercial, but yeah, that's what I know you said that you would rather see.
Yeah, that's what I asked him to do.
But I guess we
and,
didn't say.
I don't see it in here. I see a lot of stuff about some kind of thing for the community center, hot food service thing. Oh, maybe, let's see. Oh, maybe I do have it here. Let's see, where are we?
It would have been in that memo that
Yeah, memo, what are we looking at? This Republic. Cart was $30.95, and now it's lower than that.
2940.
So they have done it then. They did do that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm good with it then.
So
But
I'm
that's just me.
not gonna disagree with you again.
You better not.
I motion we put this ordinance on second reading by title only.
Second.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Rick Flynn to put this ordinance on second reading by title only. Clerk, please read the title.
An ordinance approving an agreement between the city of Carl Junction, Missouri and Allied Services LLC, DBA Republic Services of Galena to collect waste materials for residential, commercial, municipal, and industrial units in the city of Carl Junction, Missouri from April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2027, in accordance with the contract documents at rates specified therein and authorizing the mayor to execute said agreement for and on behalf of the city of Carl Junction, Missouri.
Further discussion.
Move we put this ordinance on final passage.
Second.
Is that you, Rick?
Yes, sir.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Rick Flynn to put this ordinance on final passage. The hand vote to vote electronic voting. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 7 in the affirmative, 1 absent. Please vote electronically. Seven in the affirmative, 1 absent. The ordinance passes, and that would be,
2204.
thank you. Next is the administration report. A lot of stuff on here. Any questions for the city administrator? Any idea when they're gonna do the Center Creek thing? It says they delayed because of weather.
Yeah, the water flows were up and they had ordered in the cofferdam materials. They're just big inflatable. They were waiting on those.
Okay,
Water flows are back down a little bit again.
okay. And hopefully we're gonna get our park grant in the next couple of months.
Yep.
Very good.
And make sure that we're getting $8,000 more in ARPA money because of cities that returned it or didn't use it.
We're getting how much more?
Distributed that amongst the cities,
Hey, Greg.
about $8,000.
All right. Looking for the pool.
No, That's a recurring cost. You don't pay for recurring costs with grants. You taught me that, Mayor.
I know. Okay, what do we got here? We got, almost done on the pavilion. Is it done yet?
Yeah, that was another weather thing. He was afraid to get out there with those big sheets of metal when the wind was blowing so much. So,
Can't blame me for that. Anything else for the city administrator? Any gripes?
Well, we got tons of
Any
that.
Oh,
praises?
I've got a praise on Peace Church in Burr. That's punched in.
Good.
Yeah, they've done a great job. Rick class. Big
Yeah.
for Freiburg anyway. It will be.
Yep. All right, then we'll move right along then to the treasurer's report. You got in front of you there, any questions about the treasurer's report? Can't talk to her, she's watching TV.
she was in again this afternoon.
Yes, she was. If there are no questions, then we'll move right along to department reports. We got the PD report here, a lot of stuff on that. Any questions for the chief?
I had a resident ask about if maybe we could place a speed sign, flashing one on Lone Elm, maybe around Leisure, kind of a racetrack. Seems to pick up around 9 or 10 o'clock at night, which I'm sure with weather.
Have a day creek trailer charged up.
For a week or so.
We've done that every year for the past how many years? I can tell you exactly who it is that does it, and I can show you where they live.
So it's tradition, really. It's
It's not me.
Tell your kids to behave themselves.
I don't even have any kids at home anymore, but I can tell you where the person is that does
Well,
it.
I hope you're not the one driving.
Probably is.
Probably.
Yeah, we got a Corvette around here too, don't we, Jim? She drives pretty fast.
If I'm gonna drive, I gotta go fast so I don't get caught.
Nothing for the chief then?
Just, I would just, if I can, I know this has been a rough week for you also, and I appreciate everything you do.
Yep.
And everybody up here and everybody in this town appreciates you, so I want you guys to hear that too.
And
All right.
convey that to the rest of the force
Yeah, please.
who are not here tonight. That should be here.
The whole force.
They should attend this meeting.
It's a little rowdy sometimes.
Oh, boy, yeah.
That's saying, that's supposed to be comedy.
You're being sarcastic?
Yeah.
Okay. We're glad you're
Apparently
back.
I have a big,
We're glad you're back at the meeting.
I've been told I have a big streak of
We're
sarcasm.
glad you're back. I don't care what the rest of them say, I'm glad you're here.
I need to go back at
Next, the Public Works. Got a whole bunch of stuff here on the Public Works report. Anybody want to comment anything there? They did do a good job on that street there. I've heard a bunch of people comment where they repaired the streets of
Yep.
Schubert Mitchell Torres.
Yeah.
They did a really good job.
Schubert's actually the one that fixed it.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The only bad thing about that whole was they failed to notify us when they were gonna close down Copper Oaks. That's been addressed with them.
Yeah.
And that was,
That's been addressed with them.
oh,
All right, building inspector, we have a report from him this time. We had that last month.
That was there.
Last meeting? Very good then. We'll move right along to committee reports. I think first on the list is budget and finance, isn't it?
Sure it is.
Oh, yeah, good deal. Go for it, Ladonna.
All right, you sound so excited.
Oh,
Okay,
no idea.
obvious. We have got to vote on the budget next time. And obviously, there's a couple things we're gonna have to look at between now and the next meeting because it has to be approved the first meeting in April. So there may be some changes that we will have to make. And if we do that, I'm assuming we can email the amendments and then you guys can review them. On the ARPA that we talked about, does it have to be approved at the same meeting? Or is this
No.
just an internal, we want this set, okay?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Because one of the things that we had set aside some money on was, for water system. And Steve, I don't know if you were gonna talk about anything in a meeting with Kurt?
Yes.
Okay, so there may be some things that change, it's a chance to do a little different with some of the ARPA funds. But I guess at this point, did anybody see anything other than the Y budget or the Y contract in the budget that they had questions on or issues with? If we get that worked out, does anybody see anything major that's gonna throw any hiccups between now and April meeting?
I didn't. Anybody else, any comments? Anything else for budget?
We're good, I guess, until we get that new amount plugged in and
Okay, we'll go to code of nuisance, Rick.
Just that we met today about Title 5 inland code. We already passed that.
Very good. Anything for code of nuisance? Human resources, Roger.
Nothing.
Public facilities and planning, Bob's gone. Rick or Mark, everything on public facilities?
The only thing I have is just a rehash. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I don't know, I haven't noticed the lights continuing to be on as of late. So I didn't know if anybody, if you had a chance to look into that or anything. I
Basketball
mentioned,
court?
yeah, I mentioned that,
No, he hasn't been able to get to it yet. He
Yeah.
still needs to look at it.
yeah, I, like I said, I haven't noticed it in the last couple of weeks, but I don't know that I've noticed anybody out there complaining on it.
It's supposed to have a timer on it.
Yes,
And
yes.
I'm wondering if there's something wrong with that timer.
yeah, that was my point, or my point in addressing it. I don't know if it had frozen up. I can imagine if it had frozen up, they wouldn't have been able to turn it on. So I just wonder if that hadn't piled up.
Anything else for public facilities? Senior citizens, Richard, like to speak?
Something real quickly for you tonight. It's still National Nutrition Month. We've done fundraising. A couple of weeks ago, we were in line with the Carl Junction breakfast, and it was a very successful bake sale and a great day to see that much activity at the senior center. And the mayor came. That was great. Good to see him there. And I don't know if you want any bake sale stuff, but anyway.
No.
That's fair. We also did a Tip the Senior Day down at the CJ Drive-In, which was a really neat community thing, and that was a fundraiser for us as well. We're doing it, like I said, they're very successful and they've been good, and we appreciate all your support.
Anything for Richard? Gary?
No, sir.
Anybody else? Richard, thank you very much. And the breakfast was really good too. It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
You go back twice?
No, I really had loaded up the first time.
So all of us non-seniors like the mayor,
You could have gone to
most of
the
the mayor,
breakfast.
we can go to this then, correct?
The breakfast?
Because I am far from being a senior.
There you go. Now,
you're not that far.
we hooked up with the Lions Club breakfast. So certainly anybody can come to the Lions Club breakfast, and that's fine. And if you come to the senior center for lunch, there's a different rate. The seniors pay like $3.50 donation, but if you're under 60, it's $7. Which, that's just the rules. I didn't make them, but
It'll be
I would
15.
not pay that high
we've
rate.
had 5 girls at the senior center.
Mark's gonna get a fake ID to make himself older.
Okay, well, let's move right along then. How about Mr. Gozy with unfinished business?
Nothing here, sir.
Mark?
I have nothing, sir.
Mike?
I have nothing, sir.
Ladonna?
Nothing.
Oh my God. I have nothing.
You just wait for new business, I'll figure something.
Nothing, Roger?
Nothing.
Rick?
No, sir.
Gary?
No, sir.
Mr. Powell?
No, mayor.
Lena?
Sir.
Crystal?
Yes, sir.
Steve? Old business?
Old business. Two things on old business, well, three things on old business. First one is the traffic study. We've got it completed and we got that draft of it. It's sitting in there. I've just started going through the recommendations on it. Basic recommendation is that Fur Road needs to be 3 lanes, center turn lane and 2 outside. They're also recommending at some point Fur Road and Lone Elm needs to be signalized, and Broderick Drive and Fur needs to be a roundabout. They've also made the recommendation that we start enforcing the MoDOT measurement for how far between driveways and entrances, that type of thing, and it's 600 feet, I believe, is what MoDOT. It used to be 300, and they moved it to 600. So that's just the basic ones that we've started with. Next is the water study, which has impact on the budget and our water rates. The water study is, and I believe you guys got a copy of it, was interesting. We're doing okay on storage and we're doing okay on capacity. At full flow, we're still doing okay at peak flow. We're still doing okay. We're towards the bottom end of it, but we're okay for quite a while for a lot of growth. What we have problem with is fire flows. We still have a lot of 2-inch and 4-inch lines, and we also have a lot of lines that are not looped from section to section so that you balance out the system. They have broken it down into 9 phases. It's about $7.2 million worth of work. A phase is not necessarily a year, so it might take a couple of years to do it. So funding for that, initially we had some money in the ARPA for that. We're going to pull that out of there as a listing in it, and we're looking at the water rates. In talking with Kurt, his recommendation is that we start setting aside about $300,000 a year into our current water R&R accrual account, which we put money into every year anyway, to be able to raise that $300,000 in there. It would be a rate increase of about 75 cents. I think I laid the water rate analysis in front of all of you. We would not touch the first 1,000 gallon and base rate at all at that $14.39. We would add it to the per 1,000 gallon after that, so that's everybody that hits that 2,000, that second 1,000 and every 1,000 after that would raise it from $3.59 to $4.34, $3.56 to $4.34, excuse me. And that puts us comfortably in that 300,000 range to be able to put back. Because it is a fire flow issue on these, and a good example, and Rick, I'm gonna have to use the church as an example. When it caught fire, the water line that goes out there dead ends, and it's also only a 2-inch line. The fire department, even though there's a fire hydrant out there at the intersection where it comes in, they suck that line shut. So they had to set up their portable tank in the parking lot and bring truckloads of water into it to be able to have enough water to fight that fire.
So there wasn't enough flow.
There's not enough flow.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was a little bit bad timing. This tower was offline because it had just been painted and had been sanitized. And there's a period in there where it has to set. We immediately came in and fired that pump up at the same time so that we could get that tower, filling, and they could still draw some that they needed. But that fire was bad anyway. There probably wasn't anything that we were going to do to be able to save it. But that's an extreme example of what happens with the fire flow. So it's a pretty good safety issue.
Is this something that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
He's got in those individual phases, they went back and they're looking at each of those phases so that they'll do an area. They've got it divided into 9 different areas, and they will do each area at once instead of, scattered work throughout town. So this affects the budget too. If we want to raise the rate on that, we have to get it built into the budget before you guys approve it. We stayed away from that base rate because that affects the people that get a minimum bill more than what it does when we do that per 1,000 gallons after. So we've tried to be cognizant of the fact of the people that are, on fixed incomes, elderly that have, an issue on it. So that's why we built it into that second.
Yeah, Rick.
Didn't really help us any at all now, but is this something that had we passed a use tax that we could use that money for that?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Because
the water is rate generated and not
Yeah.
sales tax generated.
Yeah.
Sales tax, we don't put any money from sales tax into the water fund or the sewer fund.
But we could have moved general fund
They
money,
pay- they
right?
pay-
But we could have moved general fund money.
Yeah, we could have moved general fund
But
if we wanted to.
he'd have the water system pay for itself.
Yeah, that's my
The
thing.
sewer system pay for
So
itself.
we're not,
There are very few things in this
Yeah.
town that will actually generate their own.
for years and years, we supplemented the water fund with sales tax money. Mary Beth and I were able to get the rates back to where they belong, where it is paying for itself now. We'll pay it back, which is the way it should be.
But use tax
And we
would
did
pay
pay
for
back
the
that
pool
sales tax fund.
contract. So there you go.
True. Anything else for Steve on the water? So this, and the rate's gonna go, when we pass it, go into effect May 1st,
Yes,
the fiscal year, right?
yes,
So-
fiscal year.
How's everybody feel about that, the water rate thing like this?
So right now, I'm paying $14.34 for the first 1,000 gallons. Once I hit 1,001, every gallon over that
No,
is,
Every 1,000 over there,
every 1,000 over that is $3.56.
right?
Yes,
So 75 cents or 78 cents or
For
whatever.
every extra 1,000.
I got you.
So you're looking, yeah, I use about 2,500 probably, so I'm looking at $2 at the most.
Extra.
My water bill's gonna go up $2.
And we had talked about this, and it's something that came up after our budget meetings. But I had sent Steve an email and talked with the mayor and stuff too. This is a way that people who actually use the service are going to pay for the improvements to the service. And if we used ARPA money, I felt like it would just be a drop in the bucket for what we're gonna need over like a 20-year span or whatever. And then you would be using money that we actually have capability to do some other stuff with, and pigeonholing it into something that can actually pay for itself through the water rates. So
I agree.
I support it. I don't know if you need any kind of consensus or anything to go ahead and adjust the
No, I
budget
will,
or just.
present
Well,
you guys.
if we have a consensus here, you put it in the budget, then you vote on the budget, it's in there.
But
And
rather
then
than
you'll also
add
add-
Or do we have an ordinance for water?
Yeah, you'll have
rates?
a water rate ordinance.
Okay,
Okay.
we actually amended by
Okay. Okay.
So if you change some of those numbers and then send us out the amendment,
And he needs to write an ordinance for us.
yes.
The other thing
I
on
remember that now,
the ARPA is that we need to get some of these projects up for bid. With the lead times it is taking for a lot of things, you know, there are several things on here that we need to get out for bid now. You know, signage is going to take a while to get in. The backup generator for this building is gonna take some time to do. You know, we need to get those things out for bid now. And so there's gonna be a whole slew of this stuff start to come in. You know, Kurt's still working on, the Quail's Nest stuff. You know, the engineers are working on the design of stuff, you know, Anderson Engineering for the stormwater on Pinell, you know, that'll be coming up too. But there's a couple items on there that we need to. We're waiting on our permit for the Center Creek Park. Stormwater. And, you know, and we need to do the design and the engineering on the West Bradford Plains. So they're saying I need to start getting that stuff out to bid now. So if you guys, I don't know if you want to approve each one of these projects or how you want to do it. If you want to approve them individually as I get bids in, it doesn't matter to me how you do it. Probably per project would be the best way. So you can take a good look at each project then instead of doing a mass. Which is what I would suggest.
We'll have to do that anyhow for contracts, won't we?
Yeah, yeah.
But we could go ahead, even if we approved like the ARPA budget we've got ourselves, you can still go out for bids and everything before then. We don't
Yes.
have to wait till then.
No.
When did we get the second round of ARPA money? Because we were supposed to get the initial one, that last April,
When did we get that money in? August
August,
so we should,
or October?
we're in October.
It's 1 year after we got that initial one, so it was either August or October, I forget which one it was that we got it in,
Depending on when the state wants to hold on to it.
again.
well, hopefully
Or
they'll
they
be,
send the wrong.
hopefully they'll be
Or they send the
quicker.
wrong amount again.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I had for old business.
Okay. Mark, you have any old business? Nope. All righty. New business. Gary?
No, sir.
Rick?
No, sir.
Roger?
Nothing.
I don't believe I have any new business. LaDonna?
No, sir.
Mike?
I have nothing, sir.
Mark?
Nothing, sir.
Jim?
No, sir.
Mr. Talley?
No, no.
Elena? Crystal? Steve?
Of course. New business. We had a family get a hold of us that has a piece of property over here by Memorial Park. It is less than the size of a regular lot. It's only 60 by 75. And in past administration and past guys, the city has wanted that because it can increase the parking at Memorial Park. It's not worth a whole lot of money since it's about a third of the lot. And make sure that you guys are, if that's okay with you guys, I can make an offer to them on that piece of property. It's worth, top of my head, $3,000-4,000 probably is all it's worth. Not much. And it would make,
Yeah, you can make an offer on it, and if they tell you what the price is, then we'll vote on it.
okay. The other is, I'd like to, I've had some requests for different bleachers and stuff, and I'd like to replace some of the bleachers in here and take them out of here because they do not get used very often because they stick out, they're too big, they stick out into those, it's those 4-row bleachers that are in there. They stick out into the courts a little bit, kind of make it a little hazardous when those are down. So I would like to take those and one place we could put them is, besides the ball fields, is at the pickleball court, tennis court area. We could put some there. So I would buy I'd like to buy, 2 more 3-row, which is identical to our little ones here. They're, 3-row, 15-foot wide. And then and get a couple of 2-row ones that we can put on the ends if we have to, so we don't lose too much seating, out of it. Because the 2-row ones are only 3 foot wide, so it keeps it back off the ends of the court a little bit. Estimate is about $7,300. Of course, I'll have to go out and get some bids on it, but that would come out of our equipment accrual fund we have for this building, which we've got 26,000 in it, plus another 8,000 that will get transferred over. So we've got plenty of money for it.
So the bleachers you're moving are going to be outdoors.
Yes,
That's okay on those.
they're just aluminum.
Yeah.
Oh, the aluminum.
We'll take the wheels off, the bumpers off. So.
Will we try to are you gonna try to fix them somehow permanently or just
No, because occasionally we move those around. So
to know in case of any kind of high winds or flooding issues? But they should be out of the flood zone if they're
yeah,
pickleball.
Tennis courts,
yeah. The tennis courts. I've only seen the tennis courts underwater once.
And that's when it was over 171.
Yeah, it went over
Went over 171.
1993.
Yep.
That was it.
Well, go out for bids, and if we like the price, we'll vote on it next time.
All righty. That's all I got.
Mark, any new business? Is there any other business for the council?
Maybe we adjourn.
Second. Motion by Don Allen, second by Roger Spencer, that we adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 7 affirmative, 1 absent. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much for attending. Thank you.